call me or text me and tell me you heard the podcast, wherever you are. And you can email me at shermandmanning@gmail.com and tell me that you heard this podcast. Also, I am the proud pastor of Yes We Can Worship Center. And Yes We Can Worship Center is located at 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. Tell it everywhere you go. We want people to know. 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. We have service every Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m. 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. We have service every Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m. 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. We have service every Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m. We are located at the corner of Slauson and South Central. We're located right behind the CVS drugstore, right next door to Cricket. You have Wingstop, you have Cricket, and you have us. We are sitting right between Cricket and Chase Bank. Right between Cricket and Chase Bank. 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. 180. Tell it everywhere you go. We want people to know. Join us for deliverance, a mighty, mighty move of God every Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m. We have a mighty, mighty move of God. We have an hour of power. We have a strong deliverance service every Friday night. Only 1 hour, baby. 1 hour, 1 hour. You don't want to miss that service. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock p.m. at 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. Right next door to Cricket, in between Cricket and Chase. At the corner of Slauson and South Central. Behind CVS drugstore, right next door to Cricket. 213-377-8681. Call me and tell me if you're coming. 213-377-8681. Space will be limited. Okay, so if you're coming, let me know. Finally, again, I will repeat, if you're listening to this podcast, if you heard this podcast, let me know that you heard this podcast. Dial 213-377-8681 and tell me. Or text me at that number and tell me. Or send me an email, please, at shermandmanning@gmail.com. And tell me that you in Decatur, you in San Jose, you in Menlo Park, you in Delaware, you in wherever heard this podcast, and that you enjoyed it or you hated it or whatever. I'm not really looking for an opinion right now. I'm just looking for confirmation that someone hears this podcast and that this is not a joke and this is not a waste of my time and my money. Okay? Please call 213-377-8681 and inform me that you heard this podcast. Two 377-8681. I'm waiting on the phone to ring. 213-377-8681. Anybody listening live? If you're not listening live, whenever you listen to this podcast, whenever you download it, whenever you listen on your Android, whenever you listen on Spreaker, or whatever platform you listen to this podcast on, please call 213-377-8681 and inform me that you did hear this podcast. I'm waiting for your call. I'm looking for your call. I need your call. 213-377-8681. ShermanDManning@gmail.com. Send me a text. Let me know that you heard us. 213-377-8681. ShermanDManning@gmail.com. 213-377-8681. ShermanDManning@gmail.com. 213-377-8681. This is the day, y'all. It's do or die. I get a call, I keep the podcast on. I get no calls, I don't do the podcast tomorrow. I stop spending my money. If you enjoy listening to the podcast and if you actually hear this podcast, I am pleading with you to call 213-377-8681. Email ShermanDManning@gmail.com. 213-377-8681. Call me. Email ShermanDManning@gmail.com. Join me Friday night, 5857 South Central Avenue, 7 o'clock p.m. at Yes We Can Worship Center. Yes We Can Worship Center is located at 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. We meet every Friday night for a deliverance miracle hour of power at 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. 5857 South Central Avenue, Suite 180. Tell it everywhere you go. We want people to know. 5857 South Central Avenue. Join us this Friday night. And call me if you want another podcast, 213-377-8681.